All right, so if everybody would unmute themselves and just say hello. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Morning.
Good morning.
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 Morning. Morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Love it. Thank you so much. So, part of today's service is going to be participatory. Know that in a couple instances throughout this service, we will ask you if you are interested in speaking and sharing. So, just a reminder that you might be on mute. Welcome to today's service, January 3rd, 2021. Yay. Thanks for being here. We appreciate you, and we're excited for this gathering and today's service and sharing. And next is our chalice lighting. So if you have a candle, feel free to light it. If you would like to read these words with me at home, please do so. I'm getting my candle right now. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not curse, to serve you, Spirit of life. Let's also read together our unison affirmation of covenant and mission. Our covenant is to be a loving, joyful community that nurtures spiritual growth, promotes compassion, social responsibility, and service in an atmosphere of mutual trust. Our mission is to be a faith community devoted to love and respect, reason, and justice.
We'll continue this morning with Joys and Sorrows. And in gallery view and with all of us, you can unmute yourself for all of it if you're able to be quiet, just kind of quiet when someone else is speaking. Or if you have a joy or a sorrow, just unmute yourself when you're ready. And I'll just start with a real joy for the joy and gratitude and appreciation for the people who are here coming to service, for the people who put these services together every week, Amy and Kirsten for sure, for our board, for our minister, for Jody, and for everyone who's contributing parts of themselves for the continuing community and aliveness of this church. Candle of joy. Remember, if you'd like to speak, please unmute yourself if you have a joy or a sorrow.
Well, I'll just say that you've all expressed a lot of support for me and for Jennifer as we've gotten through the COVID thing. It's a, as I'm sure Joyce also knows over there, it's a terrible roller coaster. I was doing better and better and better, and then I was doing worse and worse and worse the last couple of weeks, and now I seem to be doing a little better again. And I really appreciate the support I've gotten from all of you. Thanks.
Is there anyone else who'd like to share this morning? If not, let's remember to light a candle in our hearts or our imagination for all those joys and sorrows that we all hold that are a little too tender to share aloud with one another. And as we continue, we're going to listen to, and if you like, please at home, sing along with the great, and I am that great and fiery force. And you can see this is from the Sunny Hill UU Church of the South Hills in Pittsburgh. And our topic for the month is imagination. And so I'd like you to see if you can kind of feel how imagination, along with these words of description, are a great and fiery force, that imagination is also a great and fiery force.
I am that great and fiery force, sparkling in everything that lives, in shining of the river's course, in greening grass that glory gives. I shine in glitter on the seas, in burning sun, in moon and stars, in unseen wind, in verdant trees. I breathe within, both near and far, and where I breathe there is no death, and meadows glow with beauty's rife. I am in all the Spirit's breath, the thundered word, for I am life.
So at the beginning of the year, we frequently think about New Year's resolutions. And I see New Year's resolutions as being built on the assumption that we don't measure up, that we need work. So we make a list of things to do to make ourselves better, and we work to muscle up some grit and resolve in a determined and rather joyless way. And usually it all fizzles out in a few days to a few weeks, leaving us back with our initial assumption that we just don't measure up. But what if we made a different initial assumption? What if we assumed that we all have a best self, and that when we reconnect within ourselves and remember ourselves, join all our parts, all our members, then we can remain on our path to being wholly ourselves, to being whole. And what if we engaged with one of the best assets of ourselves, our imagination, to fuel that journey, that process of remembering our best selves? I envision imagination as that inherent, innate power we all know from our childhood. And that power is one which we can use to draw out the impossible from the mists of the far realms of our psyches and invite it into the realm of the possible. I believe that imagination is one of the most potent and affirmative attributes of play. To be fully present in the world as it is, to envision it as better, to paint with new colors, to enrich ourselves and our worlds, to boldly go where no one has gone before, to leap out and fly into something unknown and unfamiliar, and to say yes. When we're operating out of our best selves, I believe we get a glimpse of the possible in the form of our feelings in the moment. We know what best self feels like. So this morning, our invitation is just to use our imagination to envision our best selves for 2021. To consider things like, what did you learn in 2020? with all that it was for you and for the world. Who do you want to be this year? What do you want to be this year? How do you want to be? And rather than thinking about these questions with our minds and fueling our answers with teeth gritting resolve, let's just try and play and imagine with our whole selves, what with our embodied, felt sense of feelings, fueled with some joy and sensation, and envision how it feels to be our best self. When we consider our possibilities, also remember, we are grounded in reality. We are engaged in serious play, not just fly by night or when pigs fly fantasies, but rather in a process of open, honest reflection and consideration of ourselves, our experiences, our potentials, and our possibilities. So we're going to engage in a couple questions with a meditative reflection process, and then some open sharing again with all of us in gallery view, where we can share as we're willing or able. And I'd like you to please remember that when you invite yourself into this kind of a reflective process, there's no timetable, there's no requirement. If you just offer an honest intent, which is to ask yourself some questions and just trust yourself to allow whatever arises in the moment, and that's where you are on this journey. Remember that questions lead us to truth. So if any of the questions that are here for you, anything I've said or anything you see on the screen, maybe the question isn't working. Maybe you have a better question, and feel free to do that. So maybe something will come this morning, maybe it won't, but we are going to come back to this. Amy and I are going to create another service around imaginations and kind of move into some of this at the end of the month. You'll see more later. So simply rest in the words of comfort and wisdom. Let it be. Let's begin. So in each of these two next reflective processes, there's a question, and we would invite you to ask the question. Then just be with yourself in your own space, grounded and quiet, and kind of hold that question and hold the space for something to arise, and notice whatever it is. If it's feelings, if it's body sensations, if it's thoughts, if it's distractions, just be present to it and allow whatever arises. So our first reflection will be our next slide. Let's just start with, what did you learn in 2020? And we'll take about 3 minutes to just sit in silence. And as you ask yourself that question that's here in front of you, what did you learn with all that it was for you or for others or for the world? Just be present. So as we move here, if anyone would like to just share something that came up for you while you were sitting, just please feel free to share.
Hi, Karen, can you hear me? It's Rich.
Yes. Hi.
What I would like to share is what I learned, and that's just how fragile our democracy is. And I recall from my reading prophetic words of Benjamin Franklin shortly after the Constitution was written and accepted and given to the people of this country. And he said, "We have given you a republic if you can keep it." And I wonder, more now than ever, will we be able to, and how? Thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
I learned that I had to quell or suppress anger a lot, and that I felt impatient when others around me didn't. And that was sort of discomforting during a lot of the year.
Thank you.
Yeah, going along with Corinne and Rich, I am becoming more cynical as it goes on. When COVID first hit in March, I remember when the people were rushing for toilet paper and ramen noodles seemed to be the two big things they were raiding our local Walmart for, that it just confirmed that we're a nation of idiots. And just how selfish some people can be by refusing to do simple things like wear a mask and social distance and stuff like that, and just the whole denial of everything is just amazing to me. But it's also amazing that an older gentleman had told me that we're lucky in our area that people really are wearing masks. He had been doing some traveling, and some people, at least he's from the Oil City area, noticed that people were complying more. But it's been a hard year to be positive.
Thanks, John.
On a more positive note, I've learned, am I unmuted? Yes.
Yes.
I've learned how important it is to stay connected, and how important just a phone call a week to a friend that you haven't seen can be uplifting for both of you. And I've made a special effort this year to both in writing and on Zoom and by the telephone to stay connected with people that I don't always see, or that I see on a regular basis and I miss. And it's made a very scary year a little warmer and a little more optimistic. And I really am optimistic that after the first few months of 2021, we can feel a little bit more positive about what's going on in the world. That's it.
Thanks, Joyce.
I think what I've learned is that it's, at least not for me, very productive to be anxious about the future, which I spent a lot of this year being anxious about future things. And that what's most needed in any given moment is to be present to what's happening, what's needed now, like what do I need to do now for the people, or what's here with me, and to trust that all will be well eventually, right? That we'll find our way if we can just really be present and be with each other in real ways. And so it's really come to me that the anxiety around future is not helpful, I guess, and that being present and being trusting is, at least for me, what leads me forward.
Thanks, Rick.
I'd like to say I've learned to identify in myself racist, prejudicial thoughts that, I didn't realize that I had. And I've also learned that it's okay as long as I recognize this and try to change those ideas, that I realize that, I guess, white privilege is real, and I benefit from white privilege, and it's more insidious than I ever thought. So, so being, I guess, learning to be open to different ideas about people's place in the world.
Thanks, Deb.
I'll say just a quick comment really is, to me, what I learned really in observing just a lot of personal and political and a lot of the pandemic, I really came home to me how important or how significant a factor fear is in people's lives and the way they respond to things. And that fear, I guess I just like to think it's not such a dominant force in people's lives. But I think this year to me really became clear that many people, much more of the time than I would like, seem to base their behaviors and reactions on fear. And it's such a dominant, big, compelling emotion, I think, that really motivates a lot of what we've seen this year.
Mhm.
Just a reflection. I don't have any answers, no solutions.
That's fine. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Would anyone else like to share here? If not, we have one more reflection, same process that we've been through here, which is to just this time, we've kind of looked at what we learned. And if we're looking to find and share and move from our best selves, just explore how your best self can feel. Or anything that takes you when you feel your way into and or imagine even the possibility of who your best self is. What arises for you? And again, it could be feelings, body sensations, even distractions. They tell you something. Just be present to whatever arises as you explore your best self. So we're back. And if anyone would like to share here a little, please feel free. I'll start in that I tried to follow the directions that I was offering as well and just see what happened. And it's interesting, what was surprising to me was that Amy and I have been working on this for, I'm not sure how long, quite a while. Yeah, both in just sort of developing this in general and then very specifically with Kirsten crafting this service. And you know that thing where you think you're done? Well, you know, that kind of all done. And I just had complete reversal of that, which was almost a barely beginning. And I had a couple just sensations of just feeling a lighter, a little happier, a little more joyful, more fluid, a little more playful. And then when I started thinking about best self, I could feel just sort of a solidness to believing that I had one, that I am capable of being my best self. And it was the feeling, you know, the difference between words and thoughts and feelings and experiences. And the experiences were very different than any words I might have said. So.
When I'm feeling my best self, I'm feeling energized. I've figured out, is this something are there things I can do to make something happier, better, more peaceful? When I'm feeling like there is something that I can do and I'm actually going to do it, or better yet, I'm actually doing it.
Well, I want to follow up on that because I was thinking about the thing that came to me is the resolution thing. I've often, many times in my life, sat down and said, okay, I'm going to sort this out. You know, I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do or what's right or what the project is or what needs to happen. And then I'm going to do it. And it turns out it really doesn't work that way for me. You know, when things are really flowing, when I feel like I'm really my best self, is when I do stuff that seems right. And then it becomes clear to me afterwards why I was doing it. You know, there's something about the kind of harmony between the inner impulse and the outer circumstance where it's like, oh yeah, I'm not deciding this, I'm just doing it. So it's like I have a little note on my phone that says the change comes after the action. And so for me, it's the action, not, you know, the thinking it actually can kind of clog things up sometimes. And it's not that I just want to run around, you know, like doing stuff impulsively. You know, I try to come from some sense of depth and intuition, but I've recently had a couple experiences where, you know, over the pandemic, it's tough for everybody. We all know this, and trying to sort out, okay, what's really important to me and what's kind of essential. I mean, what do I have to keep my mental health going, you know, and when I find the things that are really essential, just doing them rather than sort of wondering, oh, do I deserve this? Is this right? You know, it's just like, let's go for life here. And so when I do that, I feel alive. I feel my best self. And it is that action, like Corinne was saying, it's like the action for me is where the greatest flame is.
Thank you.
And I should just say, I'll just add, it doesn't actually matter what happens from the action, right? It could fall on its face, whatever I'm trying to do, but it's the going for it that makes it work for me.
Great, thank you.
Sarah's comment about how often we're motivated by fear struck a chord for me. It caused me to think about something I read years ago that suggested that there are really only two motivating forces that we have. One is fear and the other is love. And I recognize how much of hearing her say that helped me recognize how much of the past year I've operated out of fear. and that how when I can operate out of love and connecting to that which is universal, it's all so much easier, right? And there's a sense of well-being that comes with that I really value, and I hope to bring more to my life in 2021.
Great. Thank you.
So I'm probably going to cry, but I'm going to try and get this done before I start crying again, because I already have. As a musician, it's my job to make other people feel emotions. And I recently realized that to be my best self, I have to feel those emotions myself. So I am thinking about how it feels to feel loved. And for me, that's going to be my goal for this year.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to share this morning?
I will. I was thinking about a number of things that would make me feel as though my best self is coming forward. And one of them, I think, is tied to what this past year brought, which was a lot of unknown, a lot of things that we had no control over individually. But I think my best self will be a very confident feeling in resilience, that no matter what it is, what I can't control, which is many things, that I'll be okay, I'll be resilient and able to move forward in a positive way. So that's a nice thing to recognize and to be thinking about.
Thank you. We have time for more if anyone wants to jump in.
Well, this is Rich. Nothing very, pardon me, nothing profound, but just an awareness, I guess, of how valuable and how meaningful simple things are, at least in my life. And I sort of remember what Joyce was talking about, the simple act of calling a friend, somebody who's not feeling well, letting them know that, you know, you're thinking about them.
Mm-hmm.
I think this whole year has made me much more aware of how important a simple act of kindness can be. And selfishly, I guess often that comes back to me too, in the sense of feeling better that I've done something that seems useful. Thank you.
Thank you. Shall we move on? So here's another question. how will you express and sustain your best self in 2021? And this will be part of our discussion topic on January 24th. Amy and I and Kirsten are going to visit imagining your best self from another, or imagination from another perspective, but it sort of follows that this can be part of it. And we're going to be asking you for some input from what we've done today to that service. So stay tuned. You'll get something soon. Check your email in a couple days.
And although our work is not done yet with this, as Karen said, we will revisit. For today, however, let's extinguish our chalice together with these closing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
All right, it's everyone's favorite time, breakout rooms. So if you'd like to stay, participate, maybe talk about some things you wanted to, or maybe didn't have the ability or want to share more broadly with a group. If you'd like to stay, share those in the breakout rooms for a half an hour. I will be moving you all to them momentarily.